To quote a former great Buffalo Bills running back, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Marshawn Lynch, classic. Welcome to Buffalo End Zone Podcast, everyone. Kevin Carroll, Andy Young. James Cook, Andy, out at Bills practice for mandatory minicamp, and that's the feeling I got from the young man, although he did say other things that went well. But, James Cook back in the mix. In this one, a lot of questions going in, whether he would be there or if he was there, whether he would practice. He was there and did practice.
Yeah, before we get too deep onto this topic, if you're watching us, if you're listening to us, right now, go ahead, interact with us. We've got some questions out in the chat. Do you have concerns about James Cook's future with the Bills, be that going into training camp, during the season, or his long-term future with the team? Do you see him with the Bills next season? Should they pony up and make him a part of the solution moving forward? And that's kind of what the big question is from us, too. So if you're in the chat on YouTube or on Facebook, hit us up. We'll respond, maybe. James Cook, he literally said, I like my money, that's why I'm here, referencing the fact that it's mandatory minicamp, and the fines would start to begin piling up for him if he misses minicamp. I don't think that he particularly loved the fact that he was there without a new contract, but he said it, it's the business. It is what it is. If I want to win a Super Bowl here, I got to be on the field. Sean McDermott said, look, he loves his teammates, gave him credit for coming out when he supposedly didn't have to, right? Like, it's mandatory minicamp. You're supposed to be there.
Right.
You can eat the fines if you want. But the fact that he was there says something, at least that he values whatever was going to come out of his paycheck, and probably to some degree he values his teammates and being part of this as well.
So this all stems from Cook being very vocal going into the offseason, that going into the final year of his rookie contract, he wanted a new deal. He wanted to be paid like a big-time running back. 16 touchdowns last season, Andy, up at the top of the league for running backs. It was interesting, though, that the team went and gave other players contract extensions and not Cook. Cook was the first one out there, so obviously he held out throughout all the voluntary portions of spring practices and stuff like that. But now here we are. This was the stalemate. This was one of those places on the NFL timeline where it was like, let's see what James Cook is going to do on this one, Andy. And there were national reports saying that there was no way James Cook was going to be there. But here he is. He's there. I don't want to say went through the motions. I think as a big-time athlete, you're going to go out there and perform, but in something like a mini camp where you're just in helmets and shorts and your shirt, there's not much you can do. So not a heavy lift to go out there, take a few handoffs, run a few routes, catch a few balls, not get hit.
Right, but the only thing about that is, beyond the physical part of it, that's basically his leverage, right? Like we discussed last week. If I don't show up, how concerned are the Bills? How great of a message do they receive that I'm not playing unless you give me a contract? Obviously, that doesn't seem like it's in the cards for James Cook. I mean, we discussed, would he show up to training camp? Will he hold in if he does show up to training camp? To my mind now, this mostly puts to rest the idea that he won't show up at all to training camp. He kind of said, look, I plan to be there, but he didn't completely make this declaratory statement saying, I'm absolutely going to be there, give it my full go, or anything like that. So there are still some areas where this could meander somewhere else, potentially. I think he'll be at training camp, and I think that he's going to just have to probably play under this deal that he currently has. It doesn't seem to me that the Bills want to pony up big time to make a long-term investment in him.
Right. And it's interesting, the players that they did. I mean, we can go back and forth on how valuable the running back position is this day and age in the NFL. You know, if we go back a few years ago, it was really just a passing league. But it seemed like as trends go back and forth and up and down, as the NFL goes on each year, that the running back position was kind of shifting back to being more involved in teams wanting that more balanced offensive attack, which puts this whole situation with James Cook, I think, in a really interesting area. Because the question is, do you have people who could produce in this system if James Cook does decide to sit in or whatever, and they move towards the regular season, and all of a sudden you have a guy like Ray Davis who, going into his second year, shows some more, like James Cook showed some more as his career advanced. So that's the conundrum right there. And the Bills have the leverage of this year, and they could franchise tag him next year.
It's an interesting case study because you can say, okay, do the Bills, do teams around the league as a whole value the running back position? They may value the position as an entity on your team, but do they value the individual person?
Right.
So there's a difference there where teams are more willing to run the football, but do they think that they can find players who are capable of doing close to what the stars do without having to pay star money?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to see, I think, over the next couple of years, and James Cook is now at the forefront of that. Like, do the Bills think, like you said, we can get close to what we had, or maybe even better from Ray Davis under a rookie contract, as we can James Cook, and pay him much less money? Say James Cook wants 15, and, for example, he goes somewhere and gets $15 million. But if you're paying Ray Davis fourth-round money in contrast to that, but you're getting close to that production, that's the interesting part. If you're saying we're going to invest in our offensive line, we've got a quarterback that teams have to worry about, obviously. We'll see what we can do with running back and, to a lesser extent, with receiver, with just kind of piecemealing it together to get guys who are above replacement level but still not quite at the level of a star, but don't have to get paid that way.
And Cook brought up during his media availability, going after that Super Bowl and needing to be here to be part of this team that's chasing down a Super Bowl. And he considers himself a important piece for this team to get there and to get past the Kansas City Chiefs and to get to that Super Bowl. But you could see the level of frustration, Andy, in his body language throughout the day. And I don't know if this was planned. I mean, we don't know. We're not in on what the coaching staff is planning. But he was kind of running fourth in line on every drill the running backs were doing.
But he also hadn't been there, so he's got to ramp up.
I understand that, but this is going to sound bad.
All right, say it then. It's probably the best.
He looked like a little child that didn't get what they wanted and was like, fine, I'm going to do this so I don't get in trouble, but I'm not going to like it, and you're going to see me when I walk by you with this, fine, I'm here, whatever. That's just how it looked to me. I don't know if that's how it was. I've never had to sit there and study James Cook's body language ever before. It never even crossed my mind to look at it.
He's not the most animated or boisterous guy to begin with.
Right, and that's fine, and that's all well and good, but like slouching shoulders and like,
You know who I'll say that? I didn't see this. I'm just taking your word for it.
Yeah.
Remember when people get on Jack Eichel about that?
Yes.
After a bad play or the team's not doing great or just an average play wasn't perfect, the head back.
Right.
Is that what the sense you were getting?
I did. Like at the end of each drill, the shoulders would slump, the head would either dip and just here's the ball back. And again, I don't know, you and I, we're out there in the sun carrying cameras. They're just running around catching footballs. So we have a
oh, God.
But what I'm saying is,
didn't you retire?
I did retire, but I came back just to do this with you. I don't know. Again, I've never paid attention to players' body language. It just stuck out to me today that this was legitimately, I don't want to be here. I don't think that this team wants to give me what I want, but I got to be here.
Hey, unlike James Cook, we ask and we shall receive. We ask for some engagement, some questions, some comments from our viewers here on YouTube. Danny Smith gives us a big old "Let's Go Buffalo" with some emojis. Danny? We got Roy Collins. He says Cook will play for the Bills this season with or without a new contract. So I'm of that same opinion.
Me too.
I mean, what else is he going to do? I mean, he could sit out the year if he wanted to, but then you're still not getting paid. You're losing money, and you'll probably still get franchised.
And that might even push you back even more, less likely to get more money down the road if you do that. You're right. He's going to play. He might even get franchise tag next year if he plays. Maybe he has a monster year, and it's like he puts the Bills in a position where I'm in my prime. You don't want to lose me. Maybe that's what happens. That's how I would look at it, but
I think the Bills, if his demand is whatever it is, $15 million, they don't even want to come up to $12 million or something. They just don't value paying that position that kind of money. I think he either walks or they franchise him. Now, if they franchise him, that's the average of the top 5 highest paid running backs,
right,
which is in the ballpark of what he wants. Mm-hmm. But that would only be a one-year commitment to a guy, and you can still decide, is this still working for us? I'm sure that would not make him happy. Running back, he wants a long-term deal with some guaranteed money. Now, he'd get it for the one season with great money, but it's not a long-term deal. NFL deals are kind of weird because you can basically get cut at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Just depends on what the guarantees in the contract are. But for a guy who plays a position where the lifespan, the longevity is not great, you got to try to make your money while you can and maximize your value. It's just, I don't know that the Bills see paying a running back as good as he was last season and as good as he's been in flashes in the 2 years prior to that, $15 million. I don't think that that's probably going to happen.
25 years old, so he's got the 5 years till
He's the same age as Ray Davis. He's been in the league 2 years longer.
You just blew my mind, Andy. I mean, I probably did know that, but wasn't thinking that. But so Cook still has some years if you go by that 30-year-old running back cutoff line.
Mm-hmm.
This is just so interesting to me because my mind, like I said earlier in the show, just goes back to years ago. If you ask me, I'd be like, bye, running back, bye-bye. But watching what he did in the AFC Championship throughout the regular season last year, James Cook was the man.
And he was their best offensive player other than
Josh Allen. Yeah. But I think the fact that in the passing game it was more Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, that takes a little bit away from Cook's value to the team and why they're not going to go up to $15 million.
I mean, I don't see it as I just can't envision a world where Brandon Beane would do that. Could they bring him in for what they value, which is a raise from what he's getting now? Probably, but they may say, look, we think Ray Davis is really good. We'll draft another guy. We'll keep Ty Johnson around, and we'll just keep this cycle moving.
Right.
A lot of teams have been doing that, and this may be a case where that happens.
If I'm the Bills, I've already gone into this like, okay, he's been good for us since we drafted him. This was one big year. We can't work off of one big year.
Hey, our guy Roy chimes back in again.
All right, Roy.
He says the franchise tag, unfortunately, counts against the available cap in whole, being that the Bills are probably up against the cap next season already. Makes that a bad idea, which I don't disagree with. Roy, if Kevin's retiring, come on in. We need a co-host. Kevin's not retiring.
I'm not retiring, first of all.
Can we tell that story at the end of the show?
We'll tell the story at the end of the show. I still don't know how to view it, but we'll get into it a little bit later.
Okay.
But fact, I'm not retiring. I'm too young.
Yet. One day.
Or at least I'm not retiring that I know of. But let's get back to James Cook, Andy. What do we expect going forward at this point? Just a lot of nothingness and him begrudgingly slugging his way through training camp coming up? Like you said earlier, he said he's going to be there. What he does during training camp, we don't know. We know, unless something happens, that he'll be there the next couple of days at mandatory minicamp.
I mean, it behooves him to show up, do what he has to do, and then really perform during the season. Whether that's saying, all right, Brandon Beane, I did it twice now. I had 2 great seasons. I helped this team back to the playoffs and, God willing for them a Super Bowl, right? And I was a big part of that. Or, all right, Brandon Beane, you don't like me, but somebody else just saw me put up 15 touchdowns again. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to pay me. So it behooves him to just get in shape. I mean, I'm sure he's in shape, but get himself where he needs to be in his headspace and physically, go out and perform at camp, and then try to tear it up in the regular season and just prove yourself that way. What else can he do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, I feel like a jerk from what I observed today watching him, but
you sounded like one too.
I know. And that's not me. I'm one of the nicest guys around.
Well, you prefaced it by saying this is going to sound terrible. So you knew.
Right.
You were coming in hot.
No, I just it's just something I've never noticed that. Like you brought up Jack Eichel. I've never noticed it with any other athlete before. Just a like
a malaise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I brought up Marshawn Lynch at the beginning. I'm here so I don't get fined.
Right.
It was.
I'm here because I like my money.
Right. I'm here because I like my money. Yeah. Move over, Marshawn Lynch. There's a new one.
The James Cook. I like my money. That's why I'm here.
Josh Allen likes his money. Josh Allen loves his new wife, Andy.
Josh Allen has a lot of money. He got paid.
He sure did.
Yeah, Josh Allen back at One Bills Drive after missing a week of OTAs following his wedding to actor Hailee Steinfeld a couple of weekends ago. Josh Allen married. He's got the wedding band on his finger while he's practicing. Yep. We all took notice. It's kind of that little TMZ Hollywood-esque part of things. Right. And he's out there slinging the football, getting ready to rock and roll. Obviously, he has made it pretty well known that he doesn't really love to discuss his personal life with the media.
Media tried.
Right. I mean, we have to.
He wasn't budging.
I mean, this guy is perhaps the best football player in the world.
Right.
And he's married to a famous actor.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a singer and in movies and all over the place. So with their powers combined, they're a power couple, at least in the world of
definite power
Hollywood intrigue. But he kind of downplayed that. He did make a couple of comments saying that, look, I've had a lot of good accomplishments over the last year. I mean, being an MVP, the big money contract extension, now getting married. And he said that was the most important one, the best decision of my life. My best friend, she makes it easier through all these trials and tribulations. I mean, he doesn't love being in the spotlight.
Smart man.
Right.
For what he said.
To come out to the little he said about her specifically, that was a good quote. And then he was like, look, it's football. I'd like to talk about that, which we did.
Yeah. Moved on rather quick. And again, unlike James Cook, we were wondering if he'd be there just because of the wedding situation. And, I mean, this is a guy going after a Super Bowl. He got his MVP. I didn't have any question in my mind that he was going to be there. I mean, the NFL, what do they get, 5 weeks off?
Yeah.
After this week? Plenty of time to say, hey, hon, let's enjoy a week after our wedding. I'll go back and practice for a week, and then we'll hit the honeymoon, but then I got to get back on track as we approach camp, which, not specific to Josh Allen, but as Sean McDermott was saying, all these players got to go to him and say what they're going to do to stay in condition going into training camp. I still remember Jim McMahon one year back in the 80s decided his best way to get into shape was to get so out of shape that training camp would mean something more to him, and came into Bears training camp, I think after they won the Super Bowl, just like 25 pounds overweight, didn't work out at all. I don't think Josh Allen
No.
will ever be doing that, Andy.
Well, if you were, it's not that long ago that like baseball managers would smoke cigarettes in the dugout and like
Lenny Dykstra would.
right, or like I heard a story about Robert Parrish like drinking cognac or something. I don't know what it was.
Red Sox in 04 used to do shots of Jack before taking the field.
Right, like smoking cigarettes in the locker room.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a little more far removed from news anchors smoking cigarettes on the set, reading the evening news. Those were the days.
Good old days.
Yeah. But yeah, Josh, I mean, he'll zero in. He was asked about areas that he wanted to focus on. Usually he mentions to us during the spring a particular area that he wanted to focus on. Last year it was turnovers. A couple of years ago it was communication and leadership. This year he mentioned kind of going back to the well of mechanics, making sure those are refined and tuned up to make sure that he's not falling into any bad habits. So they actually had like the mapping system out there, and they kind of looking at the quarterback's throwing motions and their stance, I'm sure, and their footwork and all those sorts of things to just say, hey, let's nip this now. Let's work on that. Let's get those things corrected before they become any sort of problem. And you can just go out there and play freely with your mind without thinking about, hey, am I in the right position with my throwing arm? Am I using my feet the right way? Am I stepping and striding the right way? So that's kind of what he's chosen to tell us that he's working on. And typically, Josh has had an uncanny ability throughout his career to sort of take things that were maybe viewed as a deficit and improve on them and make them better and make them a strength of his game. So if it's time to go back and rework his mechanics a little bit or just refine them, tune him up, this is a good time to do that.
He even mentioned that this was the time of year, you'll be fine with making a few mistakes here and there because now you know that's what you need to work on as you get ready for training camp. We saw at times the offense kind of struggle against the defense.
He got picked off, I think, by Derek Forrest maybe.
He got picked off, and, of course, what's the comment everyone makes?
He's married now.
Yeah, he's married now. Josh Allen isn't quite what he
he's
used
washed.
to be. Which, I mean, you can see that coming from a mile away, someone saying that. But
our buddy Matt Perino asked him about that situation of using minicamp as a way to learn and gain experience. And Josh said, look, yeah, you could take some chances in minicamp, and you're not going to win a game now because you made a certain throw. But when you get to the season and you've tried this throw and you know I can get it through that window against an NFL safety, against our own guys, I'm going to take that shot in a game. That's what you use this time for, as well as installing and getting to know new receivers like Joshua Palmer, Elijah Moore, getting on page with them. I think that's huge too.
One of the guys that broke up one of his passes to Dawson Knox, Joe Andreessen, coming out of nowhere. I don't know if you were...
Our guy, Buffalo Joe.
I don't know if you were out there yet. You might have been working on something, but I had just walked out of the field house. See Dawson Knox coming down the seam. Andreessen just made up space. And just right as the ball was approaching Knox, jumped up in the air and knocked it away.
I mean, he's got some things to prove. Like
He
made the team last season. What a story. But like he talked with us on our podcast, this podcast, a few weeks ago. All right, great. That story's over. Now I have to write the next chapter, which is stay in the league, improve, be counted on defense as well as special teams. And, he's an athletic dude. And so he's going to be, to my mind, battling for the backup middle linebacker role. And you talk about Balin Spector, who I think is banged up again.
Mm-hmm.
And then a new guy, Shaq Thompson, that they bring in from Carolina. Just today.
Today, was out there on the field, did not practice, but had his helmet on and was out there with the linebackers, Andy. Tried to get some movement from him whatsoever, but he seemed to be more locked into what they were teaching and what they were doing out there.
Well, you got to remember, too, he is coming off 2 tough seasons of injuries. In his 9th and 10th seasons with Carolina, broken leg 2 years ago, Achilles last year. So he has had a rough go, not dissimilar to what happened with Trey White.
Mm-hmm.
where, blows the Achilles or blows the ACL, then the Achilles, or whichever version that was. And so he's got to work himself back. He said by training camp, I should be fully good to go. And this is just a veteran presence kind of guy. I mean, very successful. Spent a year or two under Bean and McDermott in Carolina when they both worked for that organization before coming on up to Buffalo, so they had familiarity there. Al Holcomb, he remembered Al Holcomb, who's now with the Bills, was a coach down there as well. So, I mean, just the familiarity. Shaq Thompson said that to come in today and see some of the techniques and things that they were teaching were the same things that they were teaching in 2015 when he was a rookie. And so that helps to come into a situation where the Panthers had cut him, he had been banged up, but he's got an opportunity to help the young guys, to be a backup insurance in case Terrell Bernard gets hurt or Matt Milano gets hurt, because I think he's got some position flexibility too.
You bring up the injury. There were a number of players still dealing with injuries, but head coach Sean McDermott said as far as he knows, any of the injured players that he was talking about, he doesn't think that that's going to affect their readiness for training camp come the end of July.
KJ Hamler, Taron Johnson, Cam Lewis, Connor McGovern, Joey Bosa, DeMar Hamlin, Cole Bishop. It was kind of a long list. I saw Ty Johnson working on the bike at one point too. So, yeah, a lot of guys probably just dealing with, little things here and there that they've gone through. Don't want to get them hurt going into the 5-week break.
But everyone was there.
Everyone was in
Everyone
attendance.
was there. You can't say that about
they like their money
NFL
too.
Team.
Yeah,
right. Around the NFL, there are some teams dealing with some of their stars not showing up for this. The Bills had everyone showing up for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's mandatory, so they should. But you're right. I mean, there's holdouts. I think Trey Hendrickson, Terry McLaurin, a number of different guys that aren't showing up for a variety of reasons. Contracts, mostly the reason.
It's always the money, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, they're in good shape there. They've got some guys banged up. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on Joey Bosa. That's kind of the big one so far. Can he be ready to go for camp like Sean McDermott hopes and believes? And then can he stay healthy enough to just limp through the season and give them something in big games that matter?
A lot to look at and to cram in over 3 days of minicamp before the NFL is kind of silent for a while. So a lot for us to do out at Bill's minicamp as far as storylines go and whatnot. I think you have something lined up with Dane Jackson now back with the Bills too.
Yeah, I've got the Landon Jackson piece that'll be coming up next week, I believe, which I talked to him about his journey with alopecia and his advocacy for other kids and mental health for kids and how important that is. And then Dane Jackson, who's got the interesting story, obviously returning to the Bills after 1 year away, spent so much time here, started some games, was a part of some really good teams and some good defenses for the Bills, left to go to Carolina and got hurt and dealt with some injuries last season, then gets released by the Panthers and comes back. So how has he managed that? Like, how difficult is it to be with a team you want to be with, leave, and then you get hurt and things don't go the way you want, and then to come back here? And we talked about Trey White last week being a mentor to Max Hairston, the rookie, and I think Dane Jackson probably fits in that mold too, and I'm excited to talk to him about that journey as well, while he'll still be battling for playing time with both of those guys.
Yeah, and McDermott touched on that a little bit, because Tuesday is the only time we're going to hear from the head coach until we get to training camp. The situation with Trey and Dane both wanting to bring their best and put their best out on the field to help the team win, but also knowing that part of helping the team win might be helping the rookie out.
Yeah, absolutely. And McDermott was asked specifically about White and what drives and motivates him. And McDermott was very almost poetic about it in saying, I think Trey White is driven by something bigger. He was a first-round pick here. He was their first pick, McDermott's first pick as the head coach. there's something symbolic about that. And then he goes through what he goes through, the injuries, all those things after he was an all-pro player, and to leave and then come back. And McDermott said he truly believes that Trey White is here to serve, to be part of the organization, not only for himself and his competitive nature and his desire to play and to feed his family, but to almost in a way pay it back, pay it forward to the organization that got him cooking in a multitude of ways. And if that's to help Max Hairston be the best he can be, McDermott loves to see it.
Should be interesting moving forward.
Who are you most looking forward to seeing at camp? We'll have lots of time between now and then to discuss these kinds of things. But now that we're getting closer to camp, like what do you want to see from this team, whether that's a player?
This will be a shocker. It's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman. I want to see.
That's exactly what came to my mind.
I want to see. We talked about this last week. Some of his body getting bigger. He's still not the burner. He's not a burner wide receiver, but the ability to maybe get more separation this year and where he's at now, that he didn't have to deal with all the rookie crap. He was on the team. We got through all the spring stuff. He's still learning, but it's not like being a rookie. He'll know what to expect at training camp now. I'm very interested to see if after the GM and coach called him out as one of the players that needed to be better, how he handled that and what he's going to do after that.
I agree with that 100%. Every bit of what you said. That's fascinating. We're all going to be drawn to the receivers. That's just the nature of it because they're flashy and exciting and score touchdowns. So you're going to want to see what Palmer does, what Elijah Moore does, and how that all shakes out. But for me, I'm really interested, and I asked McDermott about this today at minicamp, how all the pieces on the defensive front are going to fit together. I mean, you bring in Bosa, you bring in Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, who are both suspended, and then you draft a bunch of guys, right? You draft TJ Sanders, defensive tackle. You draft massive Deion Walker, defensive tackle. You draft Landon Jackson, who we mentioned earlier. How are all those pieces going to fit, and are they going to improve the defensive line? How long have we said, they've got some players, but they never seem to really put it together with this fearsome sack master kind of defense? Who's going to make that big play? Who's going to get them double-digit sacks? Mm-hmm. Who are any of these guys going to step up and be elite? That's what this team has needed on that side of the ball. So I'm interested to see how all of those guys, 8, 10, 12 of them, really get together. And McDermott said, we're going to play some young guys this year, and we need them to step up.
I like it. I mean, I like a little youth in this team. They talked about it at the end of last season, getting faster, getting a little younger, Andy.
And cheaper to keep this full circle.
And and less and of course James Cook and how he handles training camp coming up. Let's do a little 3 and out before we go. This time last week we were talking about the big Bills media golf outing coming up. You and I ended up on the same team, and we didn't finish last. Mm-hmm. Part of me kind of wishes we did finish last because I guess you get free golf lessons if you did that, but not the best golf outing.
I would say of all the Bills golf outings that I've been a part of, that was easily the worst I've played. I'll
agree with that.
I was horrible. And it wasn't saying much because our whole group was horrible. We were with Terrence Gray, Bill's assistant general manager.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. A lot of fun.
He was a blast.
Asked him some questions about just how his workflow goes and how he manages what he's doing and his desires. It was a lot of fun. Like, he was a cool dude.
Yep.
We had a blast. We were supposed to have Jeff Mazurek, Bill's equipment manager, who actually we're told is a really, really good golfer.
I thought we were going to have a nice ringer with us, Andy.
He was tied up and couldn't make it, so it was just the 3 of us. So you're playing a 4-man scramble. There's only 3. Every shot, somebody gets an extra shot, and nobody really took advantage of that. So we struggled, but we had a great time.
No, awesome.
Thanks to Derek Boyko, Kevin Kearns, Xavier Jefferson, Kaylee Woodward for all putting that together, and a little fun get together for the media to hang out with some of the staff members, and a couple of players were in it this year as well.
Always a fun event to get to know people that in a more relaxed setting than when you normally see them. Number 2, Andy, have you watched an episode of Sirens yet? I know we talked about it. I explained it to you. Did you actually watch any episodes?
I have not yet, but it is on my bucket list of things to watch when I take my pre-training camp break as well.
Nice.
And I believe the writer or somebody involved with is from Buffalo, and you had mentioned this Buffalo-Boston connection kind of thing, right?
It's a lot of Buffalo.
Cape Cod, was that right?
I believe they never really say they're out on Cape Cod. I mean, for all I know, it could be the Hamptons.
Okay.
But it seems like Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard to me.
Okay.
Because I believe she takes a boat there. But it's real interesting to watch. I'm stuck after watching 4 episodes. And then the new season of Tires came out with Shane Gillis. So I watched all that in one sitting. And it's a little... You gotta be ready for that show, Andy. I'll put it to you that way.
Here's the Siren story. Let's get it right. Molly Smith Meltzer went to SUNY Geneseo, so that's where the Buffalo references come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So wanted, if that's a great show, kudos to her.
So far, so good. And then finally, I guess we'll get into my retirement before we head out and lack thereof. Because I was actually amazed.
This is great.
When we were at minicamp, that other people knew about it. Now, it might be from us talking about it with people we know, but the bottom line is this. Someone somewhere along the line said something not live on the air, but with an open mic that other people heard that was basically, well, Kevin Carroll's retiring anyways, so what's the big deal?
Right.
While I wasn't at work, someone I would never told any plans of my life to brought it up. I don't know where it came from, but obviously, as everyone does, it becomes something bigger, and it was really funny what ended up happening off of it.
So this rumor starts apparently Friday that Kevin is planning to retire, which is not true. But Kevin doesn't know it.
No.
So I get a text from one of our bosses Saturday or Sunday night explaining this situation to me, and that it had spread around the newsroom, and our newsrooms across New York State are all very connected. We share management, we share content. So it had gone across all these newsrooms across New York State and gotten to Buffalo, and people are like, "What do you mean Kevin's retiring?" Well, they knew that that's not true. However, they said, let's go with it and throw him a surprise retirement party Monday morning when he walks into work. And I'm dying laugh. Like, I'm sitting at home sending in suggestions and ideas. And, our boss, we'll say it, Steve Marth, is a funny guy. And he these kinds of things he takes very seriously. And so he bought decorations. They put up old pictures of Kevin from his 20-plus years in television in Western New York, like Kevin through the years, and then had people from current coworkers, colleagues, friends, to past coworkers, people worked here many years ago,
some random dude in Las Vegas,
former bosses, all send in tribute videos saying, "Congratulations, Kevin, I can't believe you're retiring," all these things, and they put it together in this montage of like a 12-minute tribute video to Kevin Carroll upon his retirement. So explain, when you walked in Monday morning, we were all waiting for you with bated breath, anticipation. Take us through what you went through walking into this situation.
Not one smile. I gotta give credit where credit's due. No one smiled. No one laughed. No one rolled their eyes. Like, everyone stayed
in character.
Like, when were you going to tell us you were retiring? We all found out. And
one of our administrative assistants, Cynthia, who's awesome, happened to be here and looked at Kevin so deadpan and said, so do you and Claire have any plans, traveling, anything like that? We all like looked at Kevin, and he's like, why is everyone staring at me?
And no one would tell me what was going on. And to be honest with you, I don't think I ever denied it because I was just trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So I never even said, no, I'm not retiring, because me deep down, I'm like, I'm not playing this game. I'm not going along with it and acting like I'm all upset that I'm not retiring. So I never really said anything, but no one did. It was the weirdest thing. The way everyone stared at me.
And they all gathered around our cubicles.
And kept moving closer.
So it made me a little uncomfortable, the way people were attacking it. Like, oh my God, Kevin, I can't believe it. When were you going to tell us? And then
I started sweating like crazy.
Yeah, so then they're like, okay, Kevin, we've got this video for you. And we've got this big video monitor in our newsroom where the people can gather and watch whatever they need to watch. And so we pull this video up of all these former colleagues. And like you said, there were a couple of people that you don't even know that we asked to give you a congratulations. Like, hey, Jeremy. Hey, this is Jeremy. Hey, Kev. I can't believe it's finally over.
Some dude was like, oh, it's so upsetting you didn't make the trip to Vegas with us this year, even though you're retiring. And it's like, that's funny. I have no idea who this guy is.
I've never, I mean, it's been years since I've laughed that hard while this tribute video was playing, and you're watching it laughing, but going, where is this all going, and where did this come from? And why is this so elaborate? And so after this 11, 12-minute video plays, then we finally explained to Kevin, oh, yeah, there was a rumor you were retiring. We knew it wasn't true, but we went along with it just for S's and G's.
It was fun. And then, after that, after I found out, and then, it was amazing the amount of people they got to just go in on the joke.
We're talking about old colleagues, people who've watched us for years. Ted Goldberg, Rachel Hopmeyer, John Scott, our buddy, who's now at Channel 2, Greg Vorse, who worked here for a long time with Kevin, our old news director, Kelly Holland, like all these characters of people who had passed through Kevin's work life at one time or another were a part of this video. It was incredible.
So now I have the video. So when I retire, if I ever retire,
Stevie Johnson,
Bills wide receiver, the legendary Stevie Johnson, who I was told after actually thought I had retired. Well, they had to get back to him.
I think that was a little overblown. He just at very first thought, oh, man, that's sad, and then realized in the course of a text that you were not retiring.
But it was good.
Stevie said, man, I joined on to Buffalo End Zone, and I didn't know it was going to be your final season. It was so good. It was so good. Anyway, that was awesome. We have a lot of fun. News can be a tough biz, but we try to make it fun.
Yeah, I got to say, it was really nice what people said about me. I don't know if they meant it.
Well, it was like you said, I think, that it's like having your funeral while you're still alive.
Yeah, it was like one of those things.
It was also kind of a roast at the same time.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
There was some fun there. But
your real retirement will never live up to that.
Oh, yeah.
You'll just slink off. Like you
Irish exit.
Irish
That's how
exit.
I'm going out.
Yeah.
Irish exit.
He'll retire and not tell a soul.
Yep. Andy, I think this is going to wrap it up for us
until we
get closer to camp.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see. Yeah.
If
I'm going to take some time off, you're going to take some time off, but we'll have some podcasts here and there. We'll obviously get closer to camp. We'll do our top 10 storylines that we typically do each season rolling into camp, where we kind of preview some stories. I'm sure we'll have some plans in the works to do a training camp preview show, those sorts of things. But if you like what we're doing, as always, like, comment, subscribe.
Just do it.
Share it with your friends. Maybe
Absolutely.
you too could get a faux retirement party thrown for you by participating in Buffalo End Zone.
We appreciate all the support. As always, thanks for joining us, everyone.